What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and welcome to episode 9 of my Overpower Level 8 Melee Zer0 playthrough. The last episode concluded with me killing Bunker and then jumping down the elevator towards this area, which is Angel's Core. If you're interested in seeing any of the previous episodes in this series, I will leave them linked in the description of this video. This episode will cover basically just this area and then the start of our journey towards the Iridium Blight. This area and section of the story takes quite a bit of time. I'm going to spend over 10 minutes down here in this area, partially, waiting for dialogue, waiting for staged events to happen, like some of the injectors becoming vulnerable and stuff. And this is definitely my least favorite part of the entire story because it is so long, tedious, and just kind of boring. There's not anything too dangerous down here, and you kind of come from like a real high energy portion of the game, like the ascent up to Bunker in Thousand Cuts, where you have to fight several different areas there. One with that super badass constructor up there at the top. He's pretty tough. I think that's the first time you see a super badass constructor in the game if you're playing through the story for the first time. So that's pretty cool there and everything, and it was pretty tough. And then you run into Bunker. The whole Bunker fight is pretty intense. He's not too difficult, but it's fairly lively, especially at least if you don't have Boar. If you're not spec'd into Boar, it becomes a little bit more lively, I should say. And then you come down here, and this area is just really, really, really slow, and pretty boring. You guys know what's going on here. We're just waiting for these iridium injectors to become vulnerable, and then shoot those to eventually kill Angel and invoke Jack to kind of come down here and, ruin everyone's day by defeating one of our previous Vault Hunters, Roland. The first time you come through here, the gravity of the situation is very high. Once Lilith and Roland start kind of assisting you in this area, things appear to be very heavy, especially, in the cutscene that follows where Jack does kill Roland. The first time that happens to you, you definitely want to go kill Jack right away if you played Borderlands 1. I don't think there are too many people who disliked Roland. Most or all of the characters from Borderlands 1 pretty likable. There's no real reason to dislike Roland. Maybe you didn't like his skill tree or whatever, but as a character, I don't think anyone had any real problems with him or anything. And so it was pretty disappointing to see him go. I played some Roland in Borderlands 1 and enjoyed him, as much as I enjoyed the other characters. I think I enjoyed Mordecai the best, and then the other three kind of on the same tier after that. You definitely didn't like Jack even more after this. So you were already, hated him because of the Bloodwing death, but then when he killed Roland, it got even more amplified. So I understand that this section is very important to the game story-wise and everything. However, gameplay-wise, I do feel like it is a huge letdown. And, there's not going to be too much for me to explain during this section. The main things to watch out for are the super badass loaders and the turrets that spawn over near the angel screens in the center of the room. Those turrets, especially at overpower levels, are definitely the most dangerous part of this whole thing. Now that we are at overpower levels, the shock columns also do a little bit more damage, so watch out for that. Since we do have some time to pass right now, though, I figured I'd tell you guys about an idea I had for a series that I could be, starting up here soon, because obviously the last DLC is coming out for Borderlands 2 very shortly, and, the game is, winding down and everything. But I thought a cool series I could do would be ranking all sniper rifles, or at least profiling and, kind of showing the pros and cons, the strength and weaknesses of all the different sniper rifles that exist in the game. There are obviously quite a few of them. And then ranking them at the end based on, my opinions of their viability and usefulness and utility and everything at the end relative to one another. And I figured I'd start with, one of the worst sniper rifles in the game, like a Godfinger or an E-Tech sniper rifle, and then kind of work through in a random order, to the top, where obviously the sniper rifle I'm using right now, the pimpernel, is going to end up. You know, I don't want to spoil the series for you or anything, but I promise the pimpernel is going to be at the top. Anywho, if you guys are interested in this series, you can tell me about it in the comments if it sounds interesting, or tell me if you think it, you know, would be kind of a bummer. Let me know that too. You know, I'd like to get feedback on it. I am definitely going to at least do a pilot episode of the series though, and I would appreciate feedback on that. You know, I like you guys watching all my videos, obviously, but I'll have that out, you know, probably by the end of the week. And I know that some of you guys watching this kind of series here, my OP8 Melee playthrough, are probably some of my more long-term followers or more dedicated watchers or viewers maybe, and so I definitely value you guys' opinion quite a bit, and I will definitely, you know, read all these comments and everything. I try to reply to most comments. Some I miss, unfortunately, just because they come in at weird times and I don't really have the moment to reply to them then. But sometimes I try to go back and make sure I even pick up some of those. So if you guys comment and everything, do know that I read it, and most of the time, if it's a comment that, you know, warrants a reply, as opposed to, you know, like, I'll just try to like it if it's just a just kind of a standard comment, you know what I mean, that doesn't really leave room for a reply. But if it's a question or something like that, I usually try to answer those guys. I hope I do a good job at that. And like I said, you know, I read all the comments. Don't think they're going unseen or anything. I definitely read all of them, whether or not I reply to them. But like I said, I will be looking for some feedback on that sniper rifle series. You know, I kind of have a kind of dry and deliberate style and everything, and I think that will lend itself well to objectively ranking all of these sniper rifles that will be in the game. And I'm hoping it will be a good series, and like I said, I'll try to have that out pretty soon. I'm also going to start doing some more videos on other games. Don't think I'm going to stop doing Borderlands 2 videos by any means, but I think it's good that there are other games out there that I think I can make some videos on too, and I hope you guys will watch those as well. Obviously, I put out a few Goat Simulator videos recently. That game just got released the other day, actually on April 1st for those that didn't pre-order it, and a little bit earlier for those that did. And like, for example, another video I was thinking about making here in the near future is just a short video on goofing around in Far Cry 3. For example, you know, killing some big cats and stuff with the C4 bombs that you can get. I find Far Cry 3 to be a really fun game to play, but I play it very, you know, casually. I don't have to, like, I beat the, you know, main storyline and liberated all the outposts and everything, and now I just kind of go around and reset the outpost and then just kind of goof around taking those out again, because I find it pretty fun to take out those outposts and stuff. I'm not very good at it or anything. I try to do it in like kind of silly ways. Try to do it with like all explosive arrows, or, you know, stabbing all the guys, or trying to kill them all with like proximity mines or something. I just try to switch it up. And so I just kind of maybe put out a video of me showing me goofing around in Far Cry 3 and stuff. But, you know, like, I don't want to shock anybody by, you know, producing content for other games, because my channel has been, you know, almost entirely and very predominantly Borderlands 2 up until this point. And so, you know, I had a few Arkham Origins videos, I believe, and maybe some others here and there, but Goat Simulator, Arkham Origins, and Borderlands 2, I think, are the only things I have on my channel at the moment, and I definitely want to start diversifying that a little bit, and I hope you guys will stick with me. I know that my style is a lot different from, you know, a lot of other people who make YouTube videos. I'm never going to really play up my reactions to anything, you know, or over exaggerate anything like that. I'm pretty even keel most of the time, so that kind of plays over into my commentating style and, you know, video style and everything. But, you know, I think that, like me, maybe some of you guys aren't necessarily into the super over-the-top screaming YouTube videos like a lot of people produce. And so I hope you guys will be interested in my content for other games other than just Borderlands 2. Another thing I wanted to bring up is like that dog video that I had made not too long ago. That one was just a video I had made when I had got my GoPro camera, and I thought it was pretty fun, and it actually got, you know, more views and a better reaction than I had first anticipated. And there's nothing, really good or special about that video or anything. There's no commentary or, really context to it, and no background music. And the audio is basically just the skateboard hitting the ground there, and making a lot of irritating noise. So if I'm gonna do any more of those, I'll try to do it in a little bit more scenic location, like maybe on campus, for example. It's kind of pretty on campus, it's not the most beautiful campus in the world. I go to New Mexico State University and work there too, for those that are interested in knowing that. But it is, a pretty campus. It's not ugly, or I don't think it's ugly. I think it's kind of cute. Yeah, hopefully you guys will watch that next dog video I do and kind of tell me if you think my campus is just ugly. There's definitely prettier ones back east and everything, but it's got its charm to it. Unfortunately, we got kicked out early of the tournament this year. Usually we make it at least to the second round, or I guess now it's the third round, now that they do that 68 team nonsense. And the first round, or what I consider the first round, is actually called the second round now, the round of 64. Yeah, all my teams lost that I was rooting for in the tournament, actually. But now, I'm just rooting for Kentucky and Florida to lose. I prefer Wisconsin or UConn to win it. I guess just because I'm an SEC hater. If you guys are SEC fans, I'm sorry. I'm a hater, my bad. Yeah, and speaking of being on the skateboard there, I was riding a longboard. You guys probably know what those are. They're just, longer skateboard type things that have different wheels and bearings and trucks and stuff that are made more for cruising as opposed to tricks like skateboards are most of the time. And I just wanted to remind everyone to be safe out there on skateboards and stuff. I had a guy run into me in my work vehicle today. I was going to a conference and I had another employee with me, and I had seen this guy at the top of the hill and I could tell he was going too fast. He had the speed wobbles. It looked like he hadn't been longboarding too long, looked like he didn't know what he was doing. And I saw this guy, he was probably 200 yards up the hill. I was like, I bet that guy crashes. And we're in gridlock traffic. It's in the middle of one of the passing periods and the crosswalk's all full. And sure enough, he ran directly into the side panel of my vehicle and put a huge dent in it. And this is the work vehicle that I share with my boss, for commuting to and around campus, for meetings and seminars and stuff like that. And this guy had the nerve to, after he, ran into my car at what I'm assuming was in excess of 20 miles an hour. Oh, here comes the awful part where Jack is going to kill our friend Roland. But I'm going to continue with this story here. He gets up and starts to run away. Like he was going to run away from the collision or something, and I was just going to be stuck trying to explain that huge dent to my boss. Luckily, I reacted quick enough to get out and run that guy down before he actually got out of range there. That would have been really bad. I just hopped out of the car and sprinted after him. Luckily, he was carrying a longboard that was like 5 feet long, and that was really slowing him down. So I was able to catch up with him there, and the campus police arrived pretty shortly, filled out that whole incident report so that I don't get in trouble for vehicle negligence or something. That was completely not my fault. Really put a bummer on my day. I spent about an hour just or probably more, almost 2 hours rather, just working through all that irritants and then the paperwork that followed that, writing that incident report and just telling everybody that it wasn't my fault and everything, making sure I don't get held responsible for any of that. It was definitely aggravating, don't run into people. Be safe when you're out on campuses and stuff. I assume a lot of you attend university and whatnot. Just assuming that maybe my viewer base is around the same age and stuff as me. I think that's pretty true. Not across the board, but for a lot of you guys anyway. If you haven't yet triggered this Marcus cutscene and completed the little gun type tutorial quest, then he will have that little cutscene when you come back to Sanctuary. So maybe go ahead and knock that out of the way early, because it can slow you down, if you're trying to run through it fast, or you can just not be ready for it. It doesn't hurt or anything, it's just not ideal. So anyways, this video is coming to a close now, guys. I do thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't yet, please take the time to subscribe. I'd appreciate that as well. I know there wasn't too much action in this video, but hopefully I was able to tell you some things that kept you entertained. I do appreciate you guys stopping by, and I hope to catch you next time. The next episode will be much more action-packed. Bye, guys.